Ladies and gentlemen, I love being pleasantly surprised by a new weapon. When talking about legendary bows, for the most part they all felt kinda samey to me. You have your faster firing ones, your slower firing ones, and while certain legendaries undoubtedly could roll with some really nice perk combinations, I don't think I ever really found one that made me say, oh yeah, that's the bow for me. Now, I love our exotic bows, and there are certain legendaries that I do hold in higher regards than others, but still they all felt more or less replaceable. But that being said, Wolftone Draw, which rolled into Destiny 2 here in Season of the Lost, has the potential to be a very special bow, and one that can perform quite well in both PvP and PvE. So we'll have a look at what makes this bow unique, run some testing, and see how it performs on both sides of the game. And then if at any point you do find this video useful, helpful, or enjoyable, liking and subscribing are always great ways of supporting the content. But as always, it's completely up to you to decide whether this content is worth supporting. But let's get into it with a look at Wolftone Draw's stats and perks. Wolftone Draw is a legendary arc precision frame combat bow with a base draw time of 684 or just under 0.7 seconds. The base stats for our legendary precision frame bows are within a few points of each other up and down the board. Wolftone's stability is on the lower end of things, while its handling is near the top of the pack. But with most legendary weapons, it's really the perk set that sets it apart. In columns 1 and 2, the string and arrow perks, I would simply suggest that you look for options that fit into your playstyle and what you're trying to accomplish with the bow. If you're looking for a more responsive feeling bow, I'd look for perks like agile bowstring, flexible string, polymer string, or compact arrow shaft. Basically perks to improve handling and reload or speed up the draw time. And if you go with perks like elastic string and compact shaft, you can actually drop this to a lightweight frames draw time and have a really snappy feeling bow. On the other end of the spectrum, if you want to be posting up with this bow from range, high tension string will increase the draw time, but it does add 10 points to accuracy. Or you could look to tactical string or polymer string if you don't want to make any concessions. In column 2, straight fletching or fiberglass shaft are also going to provide a very nice boost to the accuracy stat. If you don't mind having a slower firing bow, high tension string and fiberglass shaft can almost max out the accuracy at 99. But like I said earlier, mix and match these perks, find a combination that's gonna work well for you. In column number 3, we do have 2 newly introduced perks, Shoot to Loot, where shooting an ammo brick will pick it up and reload all of your stowed weapons, and Ensemble, kinda like a reverse threat detector, where being near allies will improve the handling and reload speed. But in this column, I just can't pass up on Archer's Tempo, improving the draw time just for landing a precision hit. In column 4, we can find Demolitionist, Dragonfly, and Cornered, but we also have 3 damage increasing perks, Frenzy, and the newly added Adagio and Harmony. Frenzy does have the advantage of not physically needing to secure a kill to proc the perk, which is a 15% damage increase. I think most people have an understanding of this perk though, so I'm going to be focusing on Adagio and Harmony. So we'll put Wolftone and these 2 new damage perks to the test and see what we can get out of them. Alright, first off with Harmony, when we get a kill with a different weapon, in this case your kinetic or your heavy, we're going to see a damage boost when we swap back to the bow. The duration on this damage increase seems to be right around 7 seconds. And that is 7 seconds once you swap back to the bow, not on the initial kill. And once you secure that first kill, you seem to have somewhere between 4 and 5 seconds to swap back to the bow to make use of this damage increase. We'll be checking on how much extra damage we're seeing in just a moment. Adagio is going to activate when we secure a kill with this bow, and that damage boost has a duration of roughly 5 seconds. The caveat being, this perk increases the draw time of our weapon. At base, I was able to fully draw and fire off 3 arrows in roughly 4 seconds with the base 684 charge time. And from this point forward, anytime we're talking about the time it takes to draw back and fire arrows, leave me some wiggle room. I am not a robot, and human error to some extent will factor in. But with Adagio up and active, it took me about 4.3 seconds to fire off 3 arrows. So not a huge reduction, but a reduction nevertheless. This is where I like to bring Archer's Tempo into play. After a precision hit, even though it's only affecting the first 2 arrows fired, it drops that time down to 3.9 seconds. It's basically nullifying that Adagio draw time increase. And time to run some damage numbers. But first, my general disclaimer.
PvE damage numbers are variable and will change depending on content scaling or enemy tier, so I do all of my testing in the Conflux Law sector on Nessus versus Carl the Colossus, so I can keep these numbers consistent and comparable from video to video.
At base versus Carl, an arrow was hitting for 8,945 points of damage on a crit and 5,963 points of damage to the body. I ran my DPS testing with 5 arrows, which could be fired off in 6.62 seconds with a potential max damage of 44,725. This has the damage per second coming in at right around 6,756. If we're taking Archer's tempo into account, those 5 arrows can be fired off in 5.92 seconds, so damage per second in this case, 7,555. With the Adagio damage buff, crits are now registering for 10,733, which is a 20% damage increase. In the 5 arrow test, only 3 are going to register at the improved value. I was able to fire off 5 arrows in 7.49 seconds. Maximum potential damage with the buff is 50,086, so damage per second does take a little bit of a hit, dropping it down to 6,714. If we roll in Archer's tempo with Adagio though, that same damage can be delivered in 6.44 seconds, moving the damage per second up to 7,777. When looking at the effects of Harmony versus Carl, the improved damage numbers are showing the exact same as Adagio's, so this is also a 20% damage increase. But with Harmony and the longer timer, I was able to sneak in 1 more arrow at the increased damage value. So we're looking at 51,837 for the max potential damage, same 6.62 seconds to fire off 5 arrows, damage per second 7,830. And if I did have a Harmony Archer's tempo roll, we could take that damage up a bit more. That would almost guarantee that all 5 shots were going to land at the improved value, but unfortunately I do not. But the roll I've been finding myself using most often is my Archer's tempo Adagio roll. Does Harmony technically see better damage output? Sure. Would Frenzy with its perk not being kill activated in some scenarios be the better option? Certainly. But Adagio on Wolftone just feels like a very simple 20% damage increase. Secure a kill with the bow, and we're rolling. And honestly, when I'm using a bow, sustained damage is really not my goal. Just having higher single shot burst damage is usually fine with me, especially since I do have Archer's tempo to offset those increased draw time issues that do come along with the perk. But that's just me. I am certainly not discrediting the effects of Harmony or Frenzy on this bow. They are both fantastic perks. The general feel of the bow though is very nice in my opinion. I like the sights on the bow. The glass is a little small, but I do appreciate the more vertical stretch of it. It's one of those things that just mentally helps me stay on target a little better. This one with an accuracy stat sitting at 78 seems to fire very true, and the high handling makes swapping between weapons much less of an issue. Plus, Overload Bow is in the artifact this season, a definite plus in higher level content where champions are present. And since this is a legendary weapon, your exotic slot is left open for a kinetic or a heavy. My biggest gripe with Wolftone right now is just the fact that it sits in the energy slot, which takes almost every fusion rifle out of play in a season that is heavily focused on fusion rifles. But overall, in PvE, if you like bows, this one has some serious potential. Give it a go if you find a nice roll. But with that, let's take this thing into the Crucible. Alright, in PvP, Wolftone Draw, being a precision frame bow, can hit for a maximum of 152 points of damage on a crit and 101 points of damage to the body. So landing 2 perfectly drawn body shots will deal lethal damage. Looking at our 2 damage buffs, Adagio, upon securing a final blow with Wolftone, crit damage jumps to 182 and body shots move up to 121. Harmony, after securing a kill with a different weapon, the damage increase is exactly the same, 182, 121. So both are going to give us a 20% damage increase in PvP as well. And both still require 2 arrows to down a full health target. But if we're able to secure an external damage buff as well, something like high energy fire, we'll be able to deal 218 points of damage on a perfectly drawn crit. This is plenty enough to down an enemy guardian with a single arrow. And while the stars may have to align for you to pull it off, it does give Wolftone the ability to secure a 2 crit kill on a roaming super. And in regards to these damage perks, each one seems like it's going to suit a different playstyle very nicely. Adagio might be the better choice if you're committed to using the bow at range as your primary damage dealer. It performs very nicely while peak shooting from range while holding down lanes and sightlines, with the high likelihood of being able to one-shot a slightly wounded target when that buff is active. And then Harmony, I think, is a premier perk for those who like to pop and swap with bows. Tag them with an arrow, clean them up with an off weapon, and now your bow's dealing extra damage, making the next opponent easier to down as you rinse and repeat the cycle. It's fantastic for a more aggressive bow user, especially since Harmony does not suffer from that hit to the draw time, and because Wolftone at base does have pretty decent handling. But it's really that one-shot potential that excites me about this bow. It does take some setup, since you need both an external damage buff and the weapon bound damage buff at the same time. But using high energy fire and the charge with light system can really increase the chances of this happening across any class. Taking charge and precision charge are both great ways to achieve those charge with light stacks, and one extremely important mod to pair with these is stacks on stacks, giving you not one but 2 stacks when you become charged with light. It will decrease your recovery, but it's almost necessary because both Adagio and Harmony are kill activated damage boosts. There's a high likelihood that you're going to burn one of your stacks, downing the initial target. So you want to have one more in your pocket to make sure you can get that one-shot kill. But as for the bow itself, it feels accurate, and it carries enough aim assist to the point where it doesn't feel like I have to fight to land my shots. And I've also really appreciated the fact that precision frame bows require very little precision, since 2 body shots at base has enough punch to outright down an enemy target. Cons though, I suppose an extremely aggressive bow user would prefer a lightweight frame bow over a precision frame bow for the increased mobility and the quicker draw time. And it is a bow. You really gotta commit to the bow life. Some people really like bows in PvP. A lot of people do not. If you are someone who enjoys them, this could be a great weapon for you. If you're not, well, I mean, it's probably not for you. For the verdict, if you couldn't tell, personally, I like this bow. I really do. I think the overall feel of Wolftone Draw is very solid. It brings some nice options to the table perk-wise, and precision frame bows are my preferred archetype. And like I said earlier, is this a weapon for everyone? Absolutely not. It's a bow. If you don't like bows, you're probably not gonna like this one. But for bow users, Wolftone Draw definitely has a lot to offer in the way it can be tweaked and crafted to fit the user's playstyle. But hey, if you did end up enjoying this video, please remember to leave it a like and consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel if you're not already to catch more Destiny 2 content from yours truly in the very near future. If you'd like to contact me, you can look for Ironworker814 on Twitter, join our channel Discord, link will be in the description, or comment down below and I will do my best to get back to you. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this weapon breakdown. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.